Hello, my name is Leah Neitz. I started this channel this morning. I signed it up, I guess, on YouTube this morning with the intent of using it to kind of start giving a voice to a battle I've been fighting with our school board. They have been showing graphically violent films to the high schoolers, specifically the ninth graders. And my husband and I have been trying to get them to stop and filter out the violence. And I intended on making some videos later this week, next week, just kind of trying to raise awareness about that because we've faced so much resistance. We've gotten support in our community, but always behind the scenes. And people need to start standing up. I wasn't expecting to make this video tonight. It is the 24th of May, 2022. But all of the headlines right now on the news say 18 people, at least 18 people killed in a school shooting in Texas, in elementary school by an 18-year-old. And I can't imagine the horror of that. I have 3 children, and it's hard as a parent these days. Most parents have that thought go through their mind of what if something like that happens today to my kids. And the Lord has really been pointing me to the roots of those problems, and there are many. One of them is violent films, violent media. One of them is violent video games. And I've never been one to just point at a video game and say that's what caused it. And one of them is violent music. And when you mix all those things together, that coupled with a lack of moral standard coming from a source outside yourself, it is a toxic pill and always ends in unnecessary violence. So to start out the school year, we have some teachers who started with Knives Out just for fun. And I haven't seen that movie, so I'm not sure of the violence in it, but I know the language is horrible. And then that's followed with 1917 without any filters. And then to end the year, I don't know what all goes on in there. I tried to keep an eye on it, but I don't know what all goes on in the middle. But at the end of the year, they end with clips of Saving Private Ryan, specifically the opening scene, and The Pianist, which is currently being shown to our 14 and 15-year-olds without a filter for the violence. They're filtering out the language now, but the filter they were using didn't carry it. And apparently they can't figure out how to use another filter. So they're showing it to the kids in full. People being lined up on the road and shot in the back of the head with blood spurting out of their head. A woman asking a soldier a question and being answered with a bullet to her head. People being run over by tanks, pushed out of buildings. Violence nonstop through these movies. And somehow, all of us who are an older generation, who are 30, 40 and up, managed to learn that the Holocaust was horrible, that war is horrible, without being forced to sit through these movies. Now, I have been opposed by a lot of parents at the school because the media here made it out like I was trying to get rid of all movies in the school. I honestly don't have a problem with movies in the school. I don't have a problem with movies being shown in full, even if it takes a full week of class time. I don't care because I homeschooled my kids last year and I fully understand what a relief it is to have a little break here and there. But these teachers don't have boundaries. The principal would not give me a boundary. And I was just asking where the boundary was. It didn't have to be my boundary. I just wanted to know where it was. And he would not give me an answer. And the superintendent would not give me an answer. And the school board doesn't seem to have an answer. And I won't tolerate it anymore. They demonized me. They shred me to pieces on social media. and I will not relent. I don't care. I don't care what evil people think. But it's time for a detox in this country. America needs to detox from the violence. If you are a parent who watches violent films at home, who listens to violent music, if you are one of those parents, and there are so many, that does not mean that you are an evil, horrible parent. What has happened in this country is our entertainment industry wants to make money. And they make money by making things more thrilling. And dramatized violence is like a drug. It's thrilling. People go to scary movies because they like to be scared. Some of us don't, but a lot of people like the thrill. And so they go see a scary movie. But after you've seen so many scary movies, they don't do anything for you anymore. And Hollywood figured that out. And so they have made things more violent and more violent. And instead of implying something bad happened, they will show you in graphic detail all that happened. And there is absolutely no reason on this earth for a child to watch a dramatized version of what happened in the middle of a war. Even a teenager. In the description of this video, I'm going to post some links to some articles done by different psychologists on this subject. And there are so many studies that have been done on the effects of violent media and entertainment being shown to children and teens. And all of it says this desensitizes your kids. For some of them, they seek out being thrilled a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. It increases violent thoughts and it increases acts of violence. And that is what has happened to our society. And we as parents have just let it happen, partially because we didn't see it happening. It's been such a gradual thing. We used to have just public television that was automatically censored. And with cable and starting to pay for channels a la carte and streaming services, those services weren't required to go by the same guidelines that public television was, and they should have been, but they're not. So they don't censor anything, and they produce their own shows and their own movies, and they get more and more graphic, more and more violent. They aren't just grooming our children for sexual things. They're grooming them for violence, and it's not okay. And it ends now. It's ending. We are going to stop it. Because we, the people, are tired of our children being shot at school. And we, the people, are tired of people filming other people being beat up and killed for entertainment and viral videos. That needs to end. And the only way we end it is by changing ourselves. By changing what we're taking into our brains. Changing what we're watching, what we're listening to, what we are following, what we are entertained by. If you are tired of seeing children murdered in our streets and in our schools, if you are tired of the violence and the evil, if you are tired of this world becoming darker and darker and darker, then be part of the solution to bring the light back in. So I'm going to be campaigning in Ohio to get the violence removed from the schools, the violence and the profanity. Profanity prevents children from learning language to express themselves. So then when they become adults, they're not very good communicators when it comes to expressing how they're feeling, because all they have is profanity to go by, because that's all they learned because it was easy. So I'm going to be fighting and fighting and fighting until there are laws in place in Ohio that say that teachers are not allowed to show graphic violence in our schools in K through 12. They shouldn't even show them in college. But they should absolutely not be showing them to K through 12 students at all whatsoever. So I'm going to make sure that that happens here in Ohio, and you need to make sure that that happens in your state. We need to do this at a state level, because if the federal government does it, which at the current moment they won't because of the people who are in office, But if they do it, then the states can fight against it and blah, blah, blah. But if it's a state law, it's going to stick. We need to make sure that violence is taken out of our schools. Graphic violence. Kids need to learn about war. We have to know our history so that we don't repeat the bad things. But there are ways to learn about war that don't involve experiencing it on a screen. Like, you just don't need to do that. My grandfather was a major general, and he fought in 2 tours in Vietnam. And he told us a few stories, but I learned most of the things about him and what he experienced in his book, From Private to General by Jerry Curry. And one of the stories told in that book horrified me. It was his first tour in Vietnam, and he was with a fellow soldier, and they were in the jungle, walking in the jungle, and these children started running towards them. And the soldier next to him raised up his machine gun and killed these children. And my grandpa was mortified, terrified, and started screaming at this soldier, "What are you doing? Why did you do that?" And then the children exploded because the Viet Cong would use their children as living bombs. I don't need to see that to understand how evil it is, and neither do you, and neither do your children. Simply hearing that story is enough for me to know that that was a horrible, horrible thing to experience, that that was a great evil. So to all you teachers out there that think you are somehow saving the world by forcing our children to experience these things, you are not. I will not tolerate you doing that in our schools. And I'm not simply opting my kids out of it. My kids aren't watching these movies at school, and the teachers have thrown little tantrums all over the place. I am not dealing with it, and it's not just me opting them out, because they are living in a world with all of the other students. And not only do those other students deserve better, but I won't allow that to be my kids' future, and you shouldn't either. So I challenge all of you out there to detox from the violence this summer, to take 3 months and go out and enjoy nature, plant a garden, do other things, watch comedy, watch something else that isn't violence, that isn't gory, for 3 months this summer. It will change your mindset. It will change your reaction when you see things like that. It makes a big difference. I've seen Saving Private Ryan. I've seen The Pianist. I've seen Saving Private Ryan more than once. It was horrible. I worked in the theater when it came out. I was somewhere between my senior year and beginning of college. And I stopped a dad from taking his 4-year-old to see it. Anyways, probably saved his marriage, at least for a moment, until he took him to the next thing. So I had built up a tolerance to the violence, even though those two made me pretty nauseous. But once you stop ingesting that into your mind, you'll come back around again, and you'll start being disgusted by the disgusting. The evil will become evil to you again, and you will recognize it. Right now, so many of us just don't recognize it, and we need to recognize it. But if you agree and you're with me, please send me a message or comment, and let's work together to rehabilitate this country into a hopeful place and a peaceful place and a safe place for our children and for other children throughout the world. I will see you later. God bless.